We're recording, aren't we? Straight into it.
Yeah, no fucking around this time. Brian Watts, welcome back to the Lui Diaz Podcast.
Welcome back, round two. Welcome back, round two, motherfucker. Let's get straight into it.
Hey, listen, this isn't the first time we've recorded together, but this is the only of the two episodes they're going to hear because I messed up our first recording.
It's all good, bro. Shit happens. I think it's probably a good thing. Things went a little off the rails last time, so it's probably a good thing.
Off the rails? Really? I thought it was tame.
Off the rails. I think maybe by our conversations it was fairly tame, but I think it took about 7 minutes to start talking about OnlyFans and virtual. What do we talk about? Like virtual birthings or something? Okay, we did. I think the call to action at the end of the call was to subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Oh my god!
I still haven't set up yet. I got to set that up.
I'm glad you remember it actually, because I've tried to remove it from my memory because. I felt terrible that I messed up the recording, but I've got to level with the audience again. Look, this is an amateur podcast, people. I'm not a professional podcaster. This ain't no Huberman Lab. This ain't no Joe Rogan experience. This is the Lui Diaz Podcast where, if we're lucky, we'll make it through a whole episode.
Yeah. We out here,
but
man. We made it. We good.
I did want to allocate the first minute, so you got 60 seconds to roast me for wasting your time last time, and your time starts now.
60 seconds. Where do I even start? I'm not even that upset about it. I'm just excited we could do it again, to be honest. I was just happy to be able to do it again. I would love to watch the original. It's a shame we might have half a podcast we could rewatch, but my wife was asking me, she's like, what did you even talk about in the first podcast? And I'm like, I don't even know. It was just chatting shit. It was nothing important. I've had a few people ask me who would want to do an interview with me, and I really don't know.
Well, we're going to prove them wrong right here, right now. That's what this is
hope
about.
So. Exactly. That's what it's all about. It's good to be back. I'm glad to do it again.
Me too. I'm glad you're back. I always love chatting with you. We have chats outside of podcasting, of course, and I feel like I do most of the talking. I feel like there's a lot of venting from me about how society is going sometimes, but I want you to know, and I want everyone to know, that I like humanity. I think it's good, and I think it's funny most of the time, and there's a lot to laugh about.
I would absolutely agree. I think you need to be able to find the funny in life. Otherwise, life can be a little bit miserable, I think. So, yeah. I always enjoyed our chats. What are we up to now? 2 years? I don't even know how long we've known each other. It's been a little while.
We've known each other for a year and a half, man. Hasn't even been that long.
I thought it was longer. It's really not
Feels
that long.
Feels like a fairly solidified relationship, though, doesn't it? Like a friendship.
I would agree with that. We've only met face to face. What, like twice, if that?
It was once, man.
Fuck off, really? Jesus, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that was quickly.
It was a Christmas party for a former recruitment agency I used to work for, and it's like every time I think about it, I want to vomit.
That's funny.
But we ended up at
this
gay bar on Oxford Street. Like, we were the last ones out.
I was.
You, me, and the managing director at the time.
Yeah. I don't know how we ended up there. That was a good night, though. But the parts I can remember were good. I remember walking in. I don't remember leaving. It was good, though.
Yeah, I remember a lot of that night for other reasons, but we won't talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. Yeah, let's not go into that. Not for me, but more for you.
Hey, listen, my audience isn't ready to hear that side of me yet. But
not yet.
We've only met once in person.
Maybe on the third version.
You inspired me, actually. I'm going to say that because now that we've got the audience well and truly warmed up with some banter, we should introduce that you used to live here in Australia, but now you live in New York, and you're doing something completely unrelated, or you could say completely unrelated to what you were doing before. Why don't you talk us through it?
Yeah, you're right. Originally from Australia. I'm a Melbourne boy, actually, originally. But yeah, I moved around a little bit, probably over like the last 15 years. Like, I've lived in Melbourne, lived in Auckland, lived in Sydney, lived in New York, then moved back to Sydney, and now I'm back in New York City. So over here in the United States of America. But I think my career is a bit of a funky one as well. Like, I am now now running a walking food tour company here in New York City. So essentially I take tourists and locals around different food locations and restaurants around New York City, talk a little bit about the food, show them some authentic, kind of dishes that are specific to New York City and abroad as well. And talk a little bit about the history, do a bit of sightseeing. And essentially I'm just a tour guide now, which is kind of crazy, like that I'm still doing it. I think like my background is very different to what I guess I'm doing now. My career has been a little bit all over the place, to say the least. But here we are. I'm in New York City as a tour guide. Who would have thunk?
Why don't you give us a plug? What's the name of it? Tell us its name. Oh, you don't want people looking you up. That's what it is.
The name, right? I didn't even mention it. It is. So the name, look me up. I need the clicks. The name of the company is called Tasty Tours NYC. That's the name of it. Yeah. So if you're ever in New York City, here's the first shameless plug of the podcast. If you're ever in New York City, check me out, hit me up. Yeah, I'd love to show you around. I get a lot of Aussies. So many Aussies on the tours, actually. I did 2 tours today, and I had 15 people, and I think about 5 of them are Australian plus me. So I get a shitload of Australians on the tours, and it's always a bit of a laugh. So I had today, and his wife, he was from Melbourne, and we figured out that we'd lived maybe about 2 kilometers apart from each other originally when I was back in Melbourne. So yeah, really, it's funny getting the Aussies on the tours. We'll travel a long way, I guess.
It's a small world. Yeah, and it's always, when you found this really nice place overseas, it's like, kind of happy to be away from Australia sometimes, aren't you? And then an Aussie just knocks on your door and it's like, hey neighbour.
Yeah, I think love Australia, always have. I think it'll still always be home, but it's good to go and do other stuff elsewhere. Just got to move around a bit and experience life and see what else is out there. Australia is a very isolated country. It's a long way from everything, but which is good and it's bad as well. So I think it's good to live abroad and do something different. Obviously, it has its pros and its cons, but it's a fun city here in New York. I love it here. It's great.
I think I do remember a part of our chat last time, and it was about you starting your career in debt collection. But I mean, we don't need to go into how many kneecaps you broke.
That's right.
I think we covered like all of the illegal activity and hustling that you did last time. We don't need to cover that again. Why don't we talk about how you started Tasty Tours? Like, how did that idea come about?
Very funny. I'm glad we're skipping over the kneecapping again. We spent a good 5 minutes talking about me kneecapping people last time, which is not true. Just for the record, if anyone's listening to this, I haven't kneecapped anyone.
You were reeling off their names.
So Tasty.
I'm sure there was old ladies in there as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had names, addresses. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just giving out bank accounts, whatever you want. I was bringing up old emails. Yeah, it was crazy. Shit really got out of hand really quickly. Yeah, I'm glad it got deleted and never seen again. That's the main reason we had to redo this podcast. It wasn't because Louis screwed up. It's just because I would have gone to prison for a while. Shit. Anyway, so Tasty Tours. How did that start? So it didn't start overnight. I think the idea came to me maybe like a couple of months before we kind of moved to New York City. So like we moved here in July last year. And I think for me, like moving here, it was a bit of an opportunity, like to try something different. So, I guess for context, for anyone who's listening to this, like my background is more in marketing and advertising. Like that's kind of where I've come from originally. And I think for me, like I've really enjoyed that career for the most part. I think I kind of got to that point where I'd hit, nearly 13 years in different marketing roles for different companies in different countries and all over the place. And I think for me, moving back to New York City, it posed a bit of an opportunity to try something different and maybe try and start a career that was a little bit more aligned to, I think, something I was passionate about and something I was seeking a little bit more. So I think for me and anyone who knows me, food has always been a really big kind of passion point for me. Like I enjoyed cooking. I enjoy learning about it. I enjoy trying new dishes. I enjoy eating it. Yeah. I think with me and you have got a lot in common there, I think. But I think for me, it was just like, well, how can I maybe find a career in that space where I can do that without having to actually go and like work in a kitchen. That wasn't something I wanted to really do. I think I didn't want to go and work as a chef or as a anything where I had to kind of get behind a stove, or just didn't want to do that. I feel like I was worried it was going to suck the love out of food for me by going and turning that into a job. So part of the pun. So I think I wanted to go and find something that would be a little bit more aligned to, still in that restaurant industry, still something that was food related, where I could still be a part of that community without having to, get behind a stove and actually cook stuff. So I think I landed on food, starting a job as a food tour guide.
I could see you as like a Gordon Ramsay though.
Really? I don't know if I've got the personality for it. I don't know if I could do it. Yeah, okay.
You don't.
Good to know.
You're too nice.
I think I'm too nice. I think that's a problem. Talk a lot and I'm too nice. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. But I think like the process, just to get like real specific about it, I think like for me, I took a lot of time just to kind of think about, what did I actually really want from my next job? So obviously finding something that I was passionate about and a career that aligned to that was important. But, beyond something like that, I really narrowed it down to 4 things. Like I want something that gives me flexibility. I want something where I can work for myself and kind of choose my own hours. I want something that's going to be aligned to food. And then ultimately I want something that's going to be outdoors as well. I don't want to sit behind a desk anymore. So I think for me, working as a tour guide or a food tour guide was the obvious answer. Wasn't obvious straight away, but it is now that I kind of look back on it. So I think for me, and then it was just a process of setting up.
What about a flexible yoga barbecue chef?
That is not a job. I'd love it to be. That'd be great. I'd do the barbecue part, but I'd probably just skip over the yoga.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you said you wanted flexibility,
right? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, leg up. That's clever. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. You're very flexible.
Downward sausage.
That's gold. I like that. We made it to 15 minutes before you talked about your cock, so that's better than last time.
Anyway.
Oh shit.
Yeah, between all the kneecapping and the cock conversation, that's the real reason I could use the last recording. I'm hiding all the kids listening. Whoa, no. I've actually started putting cautions at the start of my episodes now. And I think it's fair to say that, I'm going to start cautioning people verbally at the start of each episode.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
This episode contains
we can
kneecapping and cock talk.
Kneecapping and cock talk. This is good. This is going well.
It is not recommended for people.
I love that. No, that's good.
Yeah. Anyway, we digressed. You were talking about the flexibility and the food. What else were you talking about? And that, being a tour guide was what you landed on.
It was. Yeah.
A food tour guide.
Yeah. It took a bit of time to get to that point. I think I mulled it over for a while. Like, I think I'd written those 4 kind of bullet points down, and I'm like, I struggled for a while. I'm like, I have no freaking idea, like, what job this looks like. Does this even exist? Like, is this even a thing, like, where I can make money, something's food related, I'm outdoors, and I can pick my own hours? Like, what does that even look like?
Wait a second. So you're telling me you didn't even know, like, with those 4 things, if that was a real job for that?
Not really. Yeah. For a while. It wasn't something that just came to me quickly. Yeah.
But yet you shut me down when I said yoga chef. Yoga barbecue chef.
Yoga barbecue chef. Yeah. That's going to be my next business venture.
Why were you so quick to shut it down?
If you want to set it up, I'm happy to support.
Just saying, people.
That's a new one.
Someone's going to listen to this episode and we'll see it on YouTube at some point or TikTok.
Yeah.
Yoga barbecue chef, inspired by this episode.
Inspired by, you gotta start getting sponsors, man. Get the trademark happening. I don't know what you're gonna call it. Let me know. We'll circle back. You looking for investors?
I'm gonna call it Downward Sausage.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Investors. I look forward to booking that.
How many bad investment decisions have you made in your time?
It's going to be at least one if I invest in that, but let's see how we go.
All right. I will stop interrupting you, especially because there's a lag between
good.
us,
No problems.
and the recording. But okay, so but you had no idea that it was a job, right? And that's like, for me, that's like, that there was a job out there that matched all of those sort of criteria, I suppose you'd call it. So where do you go? Like, did you look for a job that matched that, or was it that I'm going to make a job that matches that? That's my curiosity.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm trying to think back. Not really. I honestly didn't think there was a job out there that was going to tick those boxes where I could actually just do those things. So it just took a bit of time. I think there was a bit of a point where I kind of thought of the idea of becoming a tour guide. It kind of just clicked for me. I was in Tasmania, and we were doing a bus tour around one little island in Tasmania somewhere. And I was just like, man, this would be a great job. I'm outdoor, like this dude's outdoors, driving a bus, talking to locals, eating food, talking about the food. And then I think I was just like, man, maybe I should look into that. Like, maybe that's an option. So I think it took me watching someone else do something they enjoyed. And for me, I was like, man, maybe I could be a tour guide. I've got the communication skills, very social. It would be outdoors. I could pick my own hours. And it was just a time where it just kind of clicked. I was just like, oh yeah, that could be worth looking into. So yeah, I think that was kind of when it clicked for me. But obviously, between March and I think I did my first tour in September. So, it was like 6 months of kind of mulling it over, coming up with like very rough business plans. And then obviously I couldn't really start anything until I hit the ground here in New York City, which was until like really late July. So, in the meantime, I had to do another job. But yeah, it was always in the back of the mind. Now I'm doing it, which is cool.
Tasty Tours, New York City. And so talk to me a little bit about the first day. Like, you've decided to do it. Yeah, let's go straight to like, where the hell did you post this for people to find it, by the way? Because I used to do skate lessons, and I used to do it through Airbnb Experience. Otherwise, like, I don't know how people would have found my skate lessons.
I took a similar route to what you did. There's a bit of a process to it. So like, you got to have a website, you got to register your own business, you got to have all the all the boring insurance stuff and all that stuff set up. But like, once that was all done, it's like, all right, I got to sell the crap out of this thing now. Like, I actually got to sell this to someone. We'll really test this and see if this is actually worth the money that I'm asking for. So I knew that I probably wasn't going to be able to sell direct through the website straight away. I was going to probably have to rely quite heavily on, third-party reselling platforms. So that's like your TripAdvisor, your Get Your Guides, your Airbnb experiences, that type of stuff. So they obviously take a cut of the sale, as you would know, but at the same time, they do all the marketing for you. And it's like a nice like aggregator for people to actually like look at different tours and different options that have got available for them. So I think I set up the profile, wrote all the stuff about the tours, got like some photos of just food that just photos I'd taken myself. They look really shitty. But I just kind of put it out there. The way I kind of did it as well, so I knew that the reviews were going to be key. So I think having reviews, you need that social proof for people to actually purchase what you're doing, because it's the first thing people look at. And I'm exactly the same. Like, are the reviews good? Do they have any reviews? Are they consistent? So what I did was, I'm like, well, I have no social proof. I've got no reviews. I got jack shit. I've literally got a business name and a piece of paper, and that's it. So I'm just going to pretty much charge no money for these tours. I'm pretty much going to lose money for the first like 6 weeks. And I'm just going to get anyone and everyone who's interested in doing a tour on a tour, do a freaking good job of it, and then, push the reviews really hard at the end of the tour. So that was kind of the first focus for like the first like 2 months, was just like, I'm probably going to make jack shit in terms of money for the first 2 months, but that's not the point. Like, I really need to get these reviews on TripAdvisor and Get Your Guide and those platforms. And then that's going to ultimately kind of start to push that snowball effect down the hill. And that's exactly what happened. Like, made dick all for the first 2 months. And then now it's like, okay, I've got the social proof, I've got the reviews, it's all kind of good. I'm starting to get word of mouth and repeat customers and stuff like that. So I think that's exactly how I went about doing it. And now I'm starting to get more sales through the website direct, which is obviously where you make a lot more of the money as well. So I'm having to rely a lot less on TripAdvisor and those third-party platforms, which are great, but man, they just like, they take so much money from you. That's the only thing. So that's a bit of an issue I have with it.
Yeah, for anyone listening here that wants to start their own sort of side hustle, I think you spelt out some pretty good, very high-level steps on how to go about it. Yeah, and the other thing I was thinking there is, man, you're smarter than you look.
You're smarter than you look.
You know what? You're
Smarter than you
refusing
look.
to
Yeah.
banter. That's what it is.
No, I'm trying to keep it PG. That's so good. You're smarter than you look. You look dumb as fuck, but you're actually really smart.
Yeah. No, but I think that was a very backhanded way of actually giving you what I really wanted to say as a compliment is that I think you've got, there's a lot of courage that when we knew each other at work, you know, we work in an industry where people generally aren't that exciting, to be honest, and are potentially quite risk averse. And so, you know, the whole you're smarter than you look thing definitely undersells you because there's a lot more to you. You know, that leap of faith that you took in order to make Tasty Tours happen is really admirable, but not something that's common, you know, for people to just take risks like that. You know, you've got more than just brains. Like, you've got the courage and I'm going to say, like, the determination as well, right? Because there must have been some challenges, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think in our last conversation, you talked about something that I took a little bit for granted, which is like the extreme weather change in New York that you have as well.
That's right.
So like, you mentioned that you got there in July and then you're heading into the fall and then the winter, which would have posed some challenges.
It did, yeah. I think it's not all rainbows, beautiful weather and great food tours. I've definitely had some challenging months and I haven't had bad tours, but I've had challenging tours, and a lot of it does come back to the weather as well. I remember we talked about that last time as well. So yeah, obviously it gets cold as shit in New York City. It really does. It's something I'm still kind of getting used to a little bit. It's nice and warm now. It's like maybe 30 degrees at the moment. It's beautiful. People are coming back. There's lots of people in the city. It's great weather, but it's really good. But in January, February, when no one's here and it's like minus 16 degrees and I'm standing on the street talking about the history of the bagel, like, it's just, there were some moments. It's just like, how badly do I want this job? How badly do I want to make this work? And, you know, it's tough because you're like, I'm making no money. I'm standing here on the street talking to random strangers about a bagel. And it's just like, I could have gone and got another job, or I could have sent emails in the side of the comfort of my own home about some shit that I don't really care about. And it's just like, well, how badly do I want this job? Turns out pretty bad because I'm still doing it. So I think that's probably the main thing. But yeah, I think the first few months has been tough. Yeah. Like winter, like I'm glad I started it when I did. Like, I think I did my first tour early in September, and then, you know, it gets cold pretty much from November onwards. So I think it was nice up until, you know, December, and then January and February it was shit. Like, it's just so shit. It was really, it really was having not a great time with it. So, you know, at least now I've gone through it. I know it's a very cyclical job, obviously, just with the seasons, but you're only at the mercy of the weather as well. There's only so much, you know, I think we talked about this last time as well. Like, it's very, it puts the pressure back on me. If the weather sucks, if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's cold and miserable, it's just like, I can't show that I'm having a shit time. Like, I need to just turn up and do the performance and do what I need to do and really, you know, bring the A game with it. So, yeah, I think it just puts more pressure on me to be able to deliver an exceptional experience when really, you know, the weather is trying to bring it down. So, yeah, it just makes it more tough more than anything.
Where do you think you got your understanding of the performance side of the experience from, if you could sort of put it down to anything you've done in the past? Because not everyone would look at it that way. Not everyone who's running a tour business would go, oh, this is a performance, or the weather's challenging today, so I've got to turn up and be the best version of myself. I need to make sure that these people have a good time, even though they're being snowed on while I'm talking about a bagel.
So I think, like, I've come to the realization that really, for me, you know, the thing that these people are paying me for it's not really about the food more than anything. Like, the food's a good part of it, obviously, but, you know, anyone can go to a bagel store or a pizza shop. You don't need me to take you there. You really don't. You need me to show you around and give you the value of, you know, the insider knowledge, the local knowledge, and kind of that entertainment factor as well. Like, it is a performance. It's a form of entertainment. Like, they're paying me to be there and tell them things they don't know and tell jokes and, you know, tell tell them history, but in an entertaining manner. So anyone can listen to a podcast or read a book or watch a YouTube video about the history of the bagel, but to be able to actually bring that to life in an engaging manner is difficult. And it's something that's what they're paying me for. So it wasn't really necessarily a point where it's like, this is a performance. I think it just kind of comes naturally after doing, nearly 200 tours. I just know that that's what people are paying me for. It's really just understanding the value and the customer value proposition more than anything. So, but it wasn't a point where I figured it out. I just figured it out. It's just part of the journey of running this business.
You're right. People can actually watch a YouTube video on the history of the bagel.
Again.
Well-rounded history of bagels right here by Mental Floss.
Mental Floss, yeah.
And there's another one, not from New York. Apparently they're from Poland.
No, it is. They are from Poland. That's very true. Giving my secrets away, man. Shut up.
There you go. It's been verified.
It's been verified. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. But I really resonate with that. Like I remember when I was doing skate lessons and I was doing it on St Kilda Beach, and, the weather was a factor as well because we're outdoors. And one of the things about St Kilda Beach in Melbourne, for those that don't know Melbourne that well, Melbourne gets really windy. So, it can be really challenging. I'm putting someone who's never skated before on a skateboard, and I'm telling you, when the wind is high here, you don't need to kick. Like all you do is stand on the board and the wind will push you. But the thing is, it just doesn't push you along. Like you build speed and you build uncontrollable speed as well. And so for me, it was like, all right, how am I going to manage this? How am I going to manage the weather? How am I going to manage this lesson in this wind, in these windy conditions? And, make it a performance so that my student or my guest, whatever you want to call them that day, comes out of this feeling like they had the best possible experience. And so, I really resonate with what you say, because it's and your attitude towards it, because it's fun. Like it is fun as well. Like it's the challenge of showing up when you don't really want to be there is a fun challenge, and it's a couple of hours, right? How long do your tours go for?
Anywhere from 90 minutes up to 3 hours. So it's it can be a grind, and it's a shitload of pizza. But it can be an absolute. Absolute grind some days. Like there's definitely days where I'm not feeling 100%, or I'm under the weather, or just like, fuck, this is like my 10th tour this week. I'm burnt out. I'm sick of talking about the freaking bagel. I don't care about this any. Like, I just need a break. But I think it's important to kind of recognize that and build time for yourself just to kind of refresh and recharge the batteries as well. Like if you don't, like, it just becomes stale, and I think people can tell as well. So you can't fake an authentic experience or an authentic performance. Sure. Like it needs to, people can see right through that shit. So you need to be on your A game, and that involves just making time for yourself as well.
I think some of the dumbest words in the history of business have been fake it till you make it. Because there has to be some desire there behind it as well. Yeah. It can't just be fake. I think people
can see right through that pretty quickly. If you're having a bad day, I get it. Everyone has bad days. I have better tours some days than I have worse tours. It is what it is. But you still need to show up and get it done. So whether you're feeling like crap or you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if people are paying you to be there, they're expecting a high level of service. So that doesn't matter. I've just got to grit your teeth and get it done.
So how about you sort of verbally take us through the tour? Which part of New York City are you in? Where do you start? And also, do you have a uniform? Like, do you wear a uniform? Like, is there something that you wear consistently?
Yeah, I can. I've got
so that people can find you. Like, I'll be wearing a red hat.
I got a hat. Do you want me to grab it?
Yeah. Can you?
No. Yeah, I can grab it. Hang on. I almost wore it on this podcast. I'm not going to wear it the whole podcast, but give me a sec. Hang on. Let me grab the hat. Hang on.
Bring the hat.
Shout out to Microsoft Paint.
Dude, that logo that's a sweet logo. We're going retro here, going back to 95 with the Microsoft Paint shout outs. But for anyone just listening to this podcast, it says Tasty Tours NYC, and then there's it's like a line drawing instead of, what is she normally holding? She's normally holding like a torch, like an Olympic style torch.
Yeah, like an Olympic torch thing. Yeah.
Yeah. She's normally holding a torch, but she's holding a pizza in the air. That's brilliant. Who came up with that? Did you steal that from somewhere? That's too good.
I fortunately didn't steal this one.
You're telling me no one else had come up with that before?
I don't think so. I've had a lot of compliments on this hat and on this logo.
Good. So
I don't think anyone's come up with it. I looked as well. If someone has done it, I apologize and I'm happy to remove it. But yeah,
what are the chances?
No, I don't know. I struggled a while to get that freaking logo right. I dicked around trying to look at different versions, and then I was just like, I think it just got to the point where I'm like, I'm sick of working on this goddamn logo. I'm just gonna do a Statue of Liberty. She can hold a pizza, and I'm putting it on a hat. Screw it. And then, Now it was 9 months ago, and now it's on everything. So I've got business cards, the whole lot. So I'm stuck with it. But it is good. She's good. It's quintessential New York City.
It looks good, man. I like it.
Do I have to wear this hat for the whole podcast?
Well, why don't you just leave it on? It works. If you don't want to feel in work mode, that's fine. You can take it off. But I like the hat. I'm a big fan, actually.
I'll keep it on. I'll keep it on for you, Louis.
I want to order one.
That's right.
Can I order one?
I gotta set up a merch store. Clearly, that's good.
Absolutely,
I'll send you one.
You do. How is that not even a thing?
Maybe we'll do a hat swap. We could do that. I'll give you one of mine. Give me one of yours. That'll be good. You could do a outline of your downward sausage. That could be good. I'd buy that. I got $20. We could buy that.
Now that we've referenced the downward sausage several times throughout this podcast, I definitely can't cut that bit out. So
I'm sorry. So you're committed now.
And because I'm a visual person, I'm imagining the logo for that too, and there's not good thoughts going through my head right now. Let's move on. All right. So where were we in the story of Tasty Tours? I asked you if you had a uniform, and I did ask you to take us maybe through like a verbal tour. So like, where does it start and where do you sort of go? And obviously, just talk about the bits that you want to talk about.
For sure. So at the moment, we do 4 different tours. So we're doing it in kind of different neighborhoods around Manhattan here in New York City. So we're doing, the 2 that I started with were the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side. So those are kind of the 2 original ones that I launched with. And then maybe around 2 months later, I started doing Greenwich Village and West Village. And then last month, I started doing Chinatown and Little Italy as well. So like every tour is very different. The food's very different. There is some crossover between some of the tours, but for the most part, they're fairly unique in, I guess, the food and definitely the history and the things that we go and look at. So like to give you a bit of a virtual tour. So the one that I probably do the most of at the moment is the Greenwich Village tour. Very popular spot. It's where the New York University campus is. So very young, youthful neighborhood. Lots to see and do, and lots of really great street food as well. So we start with a bagel. So that's kind of like the first thing. So like we'll start with a bagel. There's a good little bagel store there. They make like fresh New York style handmade bagels pretty much on the hour, every hour. So you always get like a nice warm kind of fresh bagel. It's just a good way to start, right? It's a very like quintessential New York City food. It's not from New York, as we already talked about. It's a Polish dish, but it's a very popular dish here in New York City, mainly because of the Jewish population that New York has. So we'd like to start there. You can't do a food tour without a bagel. It'd just be rude not to do it. But then from there, what I kind of do is like I break it up, right? So I'll do like food stop, and then I'll go and do like a cultural stop or a sightseeing stop, or maybe like a celebrity home or something like that. So, you know, we go through like Washington Square Park. We go and do like Taylor Swift's apartment. We go and do, you know, like the Friends building from the TV show Friends. We do the Sex and the City apartment from like Carrie Bradshaw's building. We do like famous other like spots along the way as well that we kind of, you know, just little hidden gems and secret spots that most people aren't going to know about. So we do all the touristy stuff, but we try and break it up and do some like actual history and some really, you know, tie it back to the history of the neighborhood or the history of the city as well. So I think it's kind of like food stop, cultural stop, food stop, cultural stop the whole way through. But, you know, on that Greenwich tour, we do like the bagel, we'll do a slice of pizza, we'll do like some tacos, we'll do like a cupcake, some arancini balls, and then we finish up, you know, we do a falafel as well was the other one. So yeah, you know, it's a bit of a mix, right? I try and design the tours in a way where it's going to be a very diverse experience. I don't want to just do the same food over and over again or the same cuisine. I want to do something that's going to give you kind of that flavor of New York City. So, and I get people who are only there for 2 or 3 days. So it's like, well, here's all the stuff you need to try all in one tour. We cram it into 2.5 hours and you can say you've done it. So it's just a good way to cram a lot into a short period of time, which a lot of people are looking to do do in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to New York myself, but just listening to you sort of reel off all of the different things and the diversity of your tour, I can imagine that if I went to New York and if I had a very short amount of time there, and there was, maybe other things that I had to do, like go and see family or friends or whatever, that your tour is a bit of a bang for your buck experience. Like, you're going to get more than just going from food stop to food stop. There's going to be other things that you do along the way that make it worthwhile.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the end of the day, like, as I said before, like, you don't need me to take you to a falafel place. You just don't need me to do that. But you do need me if you want to learn about it, you want to know where it is, and you want to know what to order, and you want to know the history behind it. If you care about that stuff, that's great, because that's what the tour is for. But you don't need me to take you out for lunch. That's not really what the tour is about.
I'm curious to know, though, like, before you set out on your first tour, so going back to that whole first tour thing, and I guess this speaks to, like, have the tours evolved much, in your time running them? And also, how much research did you do before you started your first tour, in terms of the history? Like, did you know the history of the bagel? I mean, since you're picking on the bagel so much, did you know the history of the bagel?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Before that.
So, that's very funny. The bagel is copping it today, isn't it?
Yeah, you're just giving it to the bagel. Although the bagel's getting a lot of good publicity as well.
Yeah, shout out to bagels, man. Shout out to Microsoft Paint and bagels. So to answer your first question, yes, it's definitely evolved. Absolutely. It has to. It always does. So I think it involves in different ways as well. So whether it's about the food, whether it's about the route that I take, or whether it's about the history that I talk about, it does change from time to time. So for example, let's say for like the Upper West Side tour, for example. So like originally I was like going to one specific pizza place on the tour, but I was having some difficulty with the consistency of the pizza. So like one day you'd go, it was great, it's some of the best pizza in the city. You'd go another day, it was another dude making the pizza. It would just be a soggy, oily mess. It wasn't very consistent. So that's kind of like an obvious way that the tours had to evolve. It's like, well, I want to keep going here, but this is just not working. Like, I just like, some days it's the most favorite thing for people on the tour. Other days, it's like the least favorite thing because it's been a shit pizza or a shit day. So I have to make tough calls about that sometimes. It's just like, all right, well, this isn't working out with this supplier. I'm going to have to swap restaurants and find somewhere else to go and build that relationship. So that's kind of an obvious thing that has to evolve. So like the food places I'm going now on each of the tours, are they the exact original ones that I'm going to? Some of them are, some of them definitely aren't. So that's kind of an obvious evolution that's had to happen. But, I think the more subtle ones that I've had to do as well are probably more around the things I talk about as well. So a lot of that was trial and error. For example, I'm going to go back to the bagel again. Yeah. The thing I would talk about with the bagel has changed a lot as well. So, originally I'd talk about the history of it and how it was a Polish dish and it originated in the Jewish communities and it was created by them and then brought here to New York City by the Jewish people. And, I was kind of doing that spiel for a while, but I could kind of see that people's eyes were just glazing over by the end of it. They're just like, I don't give a shit. Just give me the bagel. So I kind of pivoted away from that, where I'd kind of do like a more condensed version of that and then focus more around how the bagel's actually produced and how it's actually created and like the steps involved in actually cooking and creating it. And I felt like that was something was a little bit more resonating with people, and they're like, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that that's the steps you had to do it. I just ate a lot of them. I didn't know anything about it. So, I think it's just, again, it just goes back to that performance piece. It's just paying attention to what people are, you can tell when people disengage like straight away. So it's just like, all right, well, that piece of information's shit. No one cares about that. Let's move that out. We'll put this in.
1847. The first bagel was produced in Warsaw, Poland.
Well, that's exactly right, though. That's exactly right. Like, some people give a shit. They really do. Some people really care. They're like, oh, yeah, what specific date? But, what I found, most people don't care about the real specifics. They're very happy with a high level overview of stuff. I'm exactly the same. Like, I used to focus too much, like, particularly when I was building the tours out. I'm like, man, I really need to remember the exact date that this building was built or when the first bagel was created. 99.9% of people don't give a shit. They don't care about the specifics of it. They just want to know, like, very general, high level stuff just to get a bit of a taste for it, and then kind of move on to the next thing. So that's kind of other things I've kind of had to evolve as well. It's like, how do I keep people engaged? That's all I really care about. It's like, are you engaged? Do you care? Am I entertaining you? And if the answer is yes, sweet, we're all good.
Yeah. Have you ever lost a tour group? Like they were just completely disengaged and you had to do something outlandish, maybe something controversial to win them back?
Controversial to win them back. Oh, man. I don't think I've ever lost a tour group in terms of like the engagement. At least not that I don't think of. I've never had to do anything that's ridiculous to try and win them back either. It is tricky though to kind of build that rapport with people sometimes though. Some people can be really cagey and they don't want to talk to you. And it's like, well, you paid me to be here, so I'm talking to you regardless. So like I can't just not talk to you. So you paid me to talk to you, so I will talk at you or talk with you. So whether you want to engage or not is up to you. But I'm gonna just you get very good at asking questions of people to get them to talk to you. So I've gotten quite good at that, stimulating conversation.
Do you like bagels? Huh?
Yeah,
Do you like the bagel? Huh?
Absolutely. You do get quite good at it though, right? So I think engagement is you just have to bring it. It's like some people really want to talk to you and have a lot to say, and I love that. I love it when people ask questions and engage in the conversation. That makes my life infinitely easier. But I get people who don't, and it's like, ugh, why did you book this tour? Like, why are you even here? Like, why are you? It's tough. So, but again, I think you just have to accept the fact you can't help everyone. Unfortunately, it's like, I'm going to do the best I can. And if you have a shit time, that sounds like it's a you thing more than anything. Cause I know the feedback's good on these tours and I know what I'm doing is good.
Yeah. It's not you, it's me. No, it's the opposite of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not me, it's you.
Well, I think it gets to that. There's a point, right, where it's just like, it's not me. I can't help you. If you're just going to be like in a shitty mood or you just don't want to engage, or you're just disinterested and you just want to tap on your phone, cool, man. I'm getting paid either way. I don't care. It's up to you. But, I'm going to focus on the people that really want to be here. That's really it. Yeah.
I guess for the most part, you have really great guests, right?
Yeah.
Like most of your guests are great people. They're probably from all over the world, right?
Yeah. No, I think 99.9% of it. I know where you're going with this. I know you've been trying to work back into this one. I know exactly.
No way. I'm gonna come clean. There was no intention there. It wasn't until I blurted out the words, "Do they all speak English?"
Yeah,
that memory came back.
Yeah, I thought you were angling for it, and I've been building up to it. Yeah, I'm glad.
No, it wasn't premeditated.
Okay, all right, good to know.
But before we go there. Before we go there, I was having another thought, and that's to prove to you that I wasn't trying to steer it in that direction, because I asked you about, for the most part, your guests are all probably amazing, right?
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about the social proof before, and if I sort of think back to my skate lessons, so my experience doing something similar to you, one of the most rewarding things for me was like reading the comments afterwards and seeing like the gratitude that people had for the time that I spent with them, even though they paid me.
Yeah.
Like they still felt it, that currency exchange wasn't solely what this was about, like you can pay someone to do something, like talk at them, for 3 hours about pizza or bagels. But I think when I look back to the skate lessons, people had paid me, sure, but they still felt inclined or compelled to want to write like incredible things and give me a 5-star review and go, "Oh, Louis is a legend. Louis saved my life today on the beach. I didn't resuscitate anyone." No, but yeah, there were some pretty incredible things that people said about the skate lessons. And so I thought it must be rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really rewarding, 100%. I think it's always kind of nice to see that. I read every review that comes through. I think been very fortunate to have I don't even know. I think I've had like nearly 250 five-star reviews or something in the first 9 months. So the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And even I haven't had negative feedback. I get constructive feedback, but I haven't had negative feedback. So I think, it's all just part of that honing process, like when getting that constructive feedback. But I think for me, it's nice to see people take the time to write a review and say something positive. It warms your heart. It really does. And I read all of them. It's like, oh man, like this is, and it just validates what you're doing. It's just like, I'm someone who needs that validation as well. It's just the way that I'm wired. But, it's great to kind of read it and go, just kind of take a step back and be like, man, shit, I'm actually like running a business here. I'm like actually giving people a good time and, reading comments and people saying this was the best thing we did in New York City for the 2 weeks we were there, or, this is no one said it's life-changing yet. I'm waiting for that comment, but I think people say it's a really great time and it's part of their, one of the favorite things they do in New York City. And it's like, shit, like, I wasn't doing this a year ago. I wasn't even remotely close to doing anything like this a year ago, and have that impact on people. It feels good, It's not about the money. It's not about that. I don't even do it for the reviews, but, to be able to give someone an authentic, fun, enjoyable experience that's memorable, can't put a price on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fulfillment that comes from that, a lot of satisfaction that comes from that, for sure. And
Absolutely.
you've taken us through the tour, and you also mentioned that it's been 9 months. You've taken us through your hat and your uniform, which is brilliant. Honestly, you need to open up a merch store. Like you have to open up a merch store.
Good to know. It's just gonna be you, just buying my stuff.
Honestly, I can almost guarantee you'll get one hat sale every tour you do.
You reckon?
A minimum of 10 people at it.
Good.
Who wouldn't want to buy a hat with a Statue of Liberty holding a slice of pizza? Am I crazy? Is it just me?
You could be onto something here, my friend. Could be onto something. I'll launch that. I'll get a merch store happening. I love that. Could be worth launching.
You know what? Something on Shopify or something like that. Make it easy.
Could be an option. Start small. Exactly. All right. Well, we'll circle back on that. We'll put a pin in it.
Yeah, you can have t-shirts or bomber jackets even. Oh, I could imagine that logo on the back of like a bomber jacket with like a silk back or something, and that sort of in white embroidered into it. Hey, I can connect you up with some fashion people.
Please do. I clearly need some help, so I don't know. I can barely run a food tour, let alone a fashion business, but hey, why not? Let's add it to the list for 2025.
A Tastier Tours NYC kimono.
Okay. I don't know when I'm going to wear that, but let's do it.
Do you do any Japanese stops on the tour? Like, are there any? What's the Japanese food like in New York?
No, I don't do any on any. Japanese food's banging. It's really good. I don't do any Japanese stops on any of the tours. But that's not to say that there isn't great Japanese in New York, because there is. But there's a real big thing here in New York at the moment called the omakase, which is like a real like fancy sit-down Japanese where the Japanese chef like makes everything in front of you. It's like $200 a head type of thing. So not gonna
like a teppanyaki kind of thing.
Kind of, but just way better. Yeah, there's no hot grill or anything like that. It's just like really bougie Japanese food, really high quality stuff. But actually, they've just opened a, can't remember the name of the business, unfortunately, but there's like a new sushi place here in New York City. It's owned by a couple of Australian people, and they sell the kind of like what we'd eat back in Australia, like the sushi hand rolls, where you just buy like the one roll. So, and they've been really popular. So maybe I could add them to the tour. That'd be really good. But yeah, don't eat much sushi in New York, unfortunately. It's just not, it's not like Australia where we eat it all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. Like, one of the things that I learned when I went to Europe was that it was bloody hard to find good Asian food, and that I was really spoiled for choice here in Melbourne with Asian food. And it's like, well, obviously because we're so close to Asia.
100%. I get that question a lot, like on the tours. They're like, what is Australian food? And it's like, I don't even know. Like, it's this weird mix of...
It's a 4 and 20 pie. That's what it is.
It's just like, I don't even know.
From a servo.
From a servo that's like lukewarm and covered in tomato sauce. Yeah, that feels about right. Or a Bunnings snag. That's always good as well.
That is legit Australian.
It is legit. It is Australian, and it's it is
downward snag.
Downward snag.
There we go. I knew that.
There we go. Sort of it. Yeah. I want that on a t-shirt, on a billboard. I want that everywhere. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a multicultural place, old New York, so you can get a bit of everything, whatever you want. We kind of got it, which is good. Lots of choice.
Yeah, brilliant. I love multicultural places. I didn't realize how much personally multiculturalism meant to me until I moved from Melbourne to Queensland. And I was like, and by the way, I know there's a lot of bashing of white people happening lately, but I just want to say that I did go to Queensland and, you know, I was enjoying the weather up there for a little while. I was living on the Sunshine Coast. And then eventually I was like, what's wrong with this place? Like, something's not adding up. Something that doesn't feel right about it. And eventually it was like, everyone here is white. You know, you barely see any Asians, like you barely see any Indians. And I was thinking to myself, I need multiculturalism in my life. I thrive on diversity. You know, and so, you know, not to make this about like a racial discussion, and it's not even racism or xenophobia. It's just saying, hey, listen, diversity is good for our communities, and when it's not there, we miss it.
Yeah.
Are you going to save me now, or like, do I have to try and dig myself out of this?
I'm just watching you dig. It's great. It's good. Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to. Yeah, I didn't realize we were going into a DEI discussion.
Yeah,
I know your thoughts on that.
Here are my pronouns.
Just kidding. Fuck off.
So exactly. So yeah. I guess we talked a lot about the emergence of tasty tours. We talked about, like I said, the uniform. And you gave us through some verbal run-throughs of the 4 different types of tours that you do, which is awesome that you offer 4 different types of tours. I think that's brilliant because I only ever offered one skate lesson. You know, like there was nothing beyond that first lesson.
Yeah.
And I felt like diversifying might be a good idea. So do you ever have people going like, hey, I want to, like I did your Mexican one, I want to go to your like Italian quarters one. Do you get people sort of coming back for a second but different tour?
Yeah, no, like quite at least a couple times a month, which is great because it's just like instant repeat business. So yeah, absolutely. I get, you know, people do one tour. I try and like throughout the tour, I kind of got ways of doing it now, but like I try and bring up the conversation around what else have they got planned while they're here in New York City, just to kind of feel out what they've got happening. Some people book a lot of stuff and they don't have a minute spare. And it's like, that's cool. You know, I'm not going to be able to get another tour with you, and that's okay. But then other people are like, oh, you know, just trying to look for things to do. And then, you know, it's kind of a nice soft sell into kind of other tours. So, you know, I'm not trying to force it on people, but, you know, if there's an opportunity where I can show them another part of the city, you know, if there's an opportunity where I can give them some value again. Yeah, do you like bagels? Would you like to have another one in another neighborhood? and hear the same story again? But no, I think I have had a few people do all of them, like every single tour, which is it's always interesting because you end up spending like nearly like 11 hours with people, and quickly, like you quite quickly become a very big part of their holiday or their vacation because, you know, you've spent ages with them. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I've had that maybe a couple times. I think I've had a few people do all of them, and they're just like, yeah, just keep coming back and just keep booking stuff. So it's like, great. It's, you know, as long as they're cool to hang out with, that makes my life really easy.
Yeah, ace. Hey, I got to come clean though. I don't really like bagels.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
To be fair,
you know why?
Please, why?
Well, I think maybe you were about to. I think you were just about to cover it.
I've got some things on why you're wrong.
But I have never tried a New York bagel, and that's the thing. Like, or one from Poland for that matter.
Yes,
but
that's true.
I have had, and I have only had stale bagels here in Australia. Like, I don't know what's wrong with bagels, but they only last like a few hours before they start to go stale. And like, for me, it's just like tacky bread that I'm just trying to force down my throat. It's all dry, and I don't know. I've just never had a fresh. You know what I mean? Like, what else can I compare it to? Like a donut, for example. You know, like when you have like yesterday's donut and, you know, it's kind of gross and as opposed to like when you have like fresh out of the oven or whatever it is, hot, mushy, Krispy Kreme donut that just like melts in your mouth.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
I've never had that version of a bagel.
Yeah, I think that's where there's a lot of as I said, I get a lot of Australians on the tours, and I was the same before I moved here. Like, I was like, I don't even think I'd had a bagel in Australia because you can't really get them. Like, you can get them in the, like the freezer section.
In St Kilda. It's quite a Jewish neighborhood. They make bagels.
Yeah, you got to go with the Jewish people, man. If there's no Jewish people, you're not going to get a good bagel. There's no history there. So I think I don't know where the Jewish neighborhoods are in Melbourne, but yeah, I think if you hang around there, you'll probably go and find a pretty good one.
In St Kilda.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think check it out. Go and if you get a fresh, good bagel that was made within the hour.
Man. They saw that I wasn't a local or something. They must have given me yesterday's bagel.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, that's shit. Okay.
They know their crowd that comes through, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to give this person a fresh bagel."
100%. Yeah. Okay.
All I had is stale bagels.
Yeah, which is crap.
Talk to me about a New York bagel, though.
You gotta have I think for me, it was the same. Like, I'd never had a good New York City bagel, and I've had a lot of Aussies on the tours who have never had a bagel before, or the ones they've had are like the ones that you were talking about. They're just stale, shitty, dry, hard, chewy, disgusting, not great. So
yeah,
the reason is because there's actually a few reasons. So, like, one, they made fresh here in New York City, and you just have to go to a specialty bagel store that just does bagels. Like, and there's literally hundreds of them here in New York City. So, they'll make the bagels fresh. They make them by hand. They roll them by themselves. They'll boil them themselves. They'll cook them in the oven, and then they're sold usually within about 30 minutes of coming out of the oven. So they're not sitting on the shelf for like however long because they just move it. It's hours or days. Like, they're not doing that. Most good bagel stores here was just high churn, high burn. They just like get it done and they'll sell you a good bagel really quickly. So, you know the difference between fresh bread or something you've had in the freezer frozen for 3 weeks. Like, it's night and day. It's not the same. So I think here in New York as well, like, there's so much history. There's so many Jewish people here. They've had so much history of making bagels, and it's something you can't really buy either. Like in Australia, you need to have that, that kind of rich cultural history of Jewish people moving there and opening stores and teaching the ways. Yeah. And, I think it's the ingredients as well. Like, here in New York, we've got very soft water as well. And I kind of talk about this on the tour, but the water is like the big
soft water.
So it doesn't have as much like minerals and impurities in the water. So it's very soft. So it doesn't have like things like calcium and stuff like that in the water here. So it is very like, you kind of notice it in your hair and on your hands and stuff. It's very soft. So, and like water is like the main ingredient. Yeah, it's I don't know if Australia's got hard water or soft water. I hadn't really even heard of it until moving here because everyone talks about it. But it has a big impact on how the bagels form as well. Like, just because, water is like the main ingredient of a bagel besides flour. So, it has a big impact on how it tastes and how it forms. So not all the bagels in America are great. It's really only in New York City because the other parts of the country got very hard water. So there's actually places around the States where they're trying to make New York style bagels, and they'll ship the water from New York City to their city so they can make an authentic New York style bagel. So there's different reasons why they suck. In Australia, it's because they're not fresh. They're not made with anyone who knows what they're doing, and the water's probably not as good. So yeah, that's why they shit. Come to New York, man. Just book a flight and I'll show. Yeah, come to New York and I'll show you a good bagel. I'll change your mind.
All right, fine. I'm open to that. I'm open to that being the only reason I go to New York. I get off the plane at JFK and I'm like, show us the bagel.
I'll meet you at the gate.
I'm here for the bagel.
You don't even have to get off the plane. I'll bring it to you in the plane, and you can just go back home after that if you want. I'll just bring it to you, and then
hold my luggage.
Hold my luggage. Yeah. I'll drop it. Yeah, don't even get a cab into the city. Just I'll bring the bagel to you, and then you can go. It'll be fine.
Oh no, a cab would be part of the experience. Actually, that's another thing. Yeah, of course, a New York cab. That'd be a famous thing to do.
It would be a famous
Central
thing.
Perk, that cafe.
Oh yeah, that's.
You gotta go to Central Perk.
Yeah, okay. Friends. You might be looking for a while. It doesn't exist, man. It's not real. Just to shatter that. Just to shatter that dream for you. Yeah, just crap on your New York City dream.
Fuck. Yeah. I always wanted to go to Central Perk.
Yeah.
And I was always hoping that Gunther guy would be working there.
Yeah, no, he's the place doesn't exist and he's dead. So good luck with that.
Okay, this podcast took a turn.
Yeah, it took a real turn. It's good.
So, but I want to hear about some of your favorite tours that you've done, like with people, like some of your most memorable tours, maybe I'll call it, like
memorable.
Because
yeah,
I definitely have memorable skate lessons, some that were just incredible and some that were, I remember because they were challenging.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most memorable one that jumps to mind is probably the first tour I ever did. And it's funny now, I can laugh about it, but at the time I was just like, fuck, this is how it's going to be. This is not going to last very long. So I got a tour booked. It was the first one I'd ever done, and it was on the Upper West Side. So I had about a week between when they booked and when the tour actually happened. So I had one booking come through, and then I had another booking come in on the same day at the same time. So all of a sudden I had 3 people that I was going to have to take around the Upper West Side. So there was 3 people. One of them was this guy from France who didn't speak any English, not even a word of English. And then I had a mother and a daughter on the tour as well. And they came along and they were American. So, I was like pumping myself up for the whole morning. I'm like, oh, man, I hope I remember all my lines and everything I have to say and all the food stops. And I hope I remember the directions and all that shit. Like there's a lot to kind of remember. So it was already stressful as it is, but get to the tour, introduce myself to the people there, say who I am, start running through the lines in my head. I'm like, okay, now I have to say this, then I have to say that. And then quickly realize that the French dude just had no clue, like what I was saying. Like he spoke no English whatsoever, just not even a word of English. So I was like, this is going to be tough trying to translate this stuff for this dude because I can't speak French, not even a little bit. So that was a real challenge. But what happened about halfway through the tour, and it's like, as I said, like it's nearly a 3-hour tour. So about maybe an hour into it, the mother and the daughter had to leave the tour because the daughter had a migraine. So I still to this day haven't had anyone else leave a tour. It just so happened that the only people ever to leave a tour were the people on the first tour that I ever did. So I was like, oh man, this is not great. So all of a sudden it was me and this French dude on a food tour that I'd never run before and he didn't speak English. So what I ended up doing was to try and translate it to actually make this tour work. I was talking into like Google Translate on my phone. So I'd say the words in English and then it would translate into French and then, he would read what I'd said. So I'd be like, this is the history of the bagel, or this is this thing here, this is this thing. The funniest thing, there was 2 things that got really badly lost in translation, and this is kind of why it's a memorable experience. So it's we got to our pizza stop, and we were chatting around like what our favorite pizza toppings were. So we're just kind of going back and forth with the phone. And I asked him the question, or at least I asked the phone the question. I said, what is your favorite pizza topping to put on top of the pizza? So I was like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Showed him the phone, and he's like, oh, okay, whatever French he said. And I like looked back at the phone, and it said, honey goat. That's all it said, just honey goat. So just those 2 words. And I'm like, honey goat. So I went to Google, I pressed the button and said, what is honey goat? And then I didn't check what it had translated into from English. And then I showed him the phone and he just like got like real offended really quickly. He's like, what the hell? And I like looked back at the phone and fucking Google had translated what I said to say, what is a horny goat? So he's just like, he was super confusing. I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. And then it happened again. I should have learnt my lesson, but I didn't. We were going to this great little place at the end of the tour called Magnolia Bakery. They're very famous because of the TV show Sex and the City. So I said into the phone, I said, we are going to have a cupcake that was made famous from the TV show Sex and the City. Forgot to check it, showed him the phone. It had translated what I said into French that said, we're going to go and have a sex cupcake. It was just like, oh my God. I was like, fucking hell, this tour can never end. This is just going dreadfully. So yeah, I've had a few of those where it's just like things just, just get lost in translation. It's often when people don't speak English, that's where I screw up the most. But, I think for the most part, most of the tours are very tame. That was a one-off. Just that happened to be the first tour ever.
I would pay for a tour where I was shown a horny goat and a sex cupcake. Though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I kind of want to, yeah.
Even though it was a mistake, like you should look into that.
Yeah, absolutely. A sex cupcake and a horny goat. Yeah, you got to pay extra for that, man.
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, no, it's been a fun experience. Yeah.
I think last time we spoke, there was a birthday party, right? People have booked birthday parties with you.
Birthday parties, yes. I've had a few birthday parties. I'm trying to remember the story. Do you remember what it was? What was it? I can't remember myself.
I think there was you had to dress up or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, fuck, I forgot about that one. That's so good. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, block that from my mind. That was a funny day. So, how do I even start to explain this one? So, I got booked for a private tour in October last year, and the guy who reached out about the tour he was celebrating his birthday, and he wanted to pay for all of his friends to do a food tour with me on the Upper East Side. So I was like a month into this tour business, and I'm like, sweet, this is going to be some good money, because he wanted to do maybe like 15 people, at least originally. That's what he told me. He wanted about 15 friends. So I'm like, yeah, man, we can do a 15 group tour. That's no problem. I'd never done 15 people ever. So I was like, yeah, sweet. This is great. This is all looking really good. So we were kind of chatting back and forth over like the couple of the weeks leading up to the tour. And then maybe about a week before the tour, he called me up and he's like, oh, hey man, look, the numbers have kind of changed. Any chance you'd be okay with doing 25 people? And I'm like, oof, man, it's getting up there, but think of the money. Like, can make a lot of cash in one afternoon. So I said yes. I'm like, yeah, man, we can definitely do 25, no problem. Too easy, no dramas at all. And then he called me about a week, maybe about 3 days before the tour, and he said, hey, look, don't hate me, but any chance we can do 33 people on this tour? And keep in mind, I'd only done this tour maybe 5 times at all. So I'm like, yeah, we can absolutely do it. No problem. We can definitely have 33 people on the tour. No issues whatsoever. So I was just like, just say yes and we'll see what happens. So I did that. And then he called me back right after the phone call. And he said, oh, by the way, I forgot to ask. So this weekend is Halloween and it's also my birthday. We're all going to dress up for this food tour. Are you interested in dressing up? You don't have to, but if you'd like to, it'd be great if you could dress up as part of the tour. So I'm like, yeah, that's all good, man. I'll just sort out a costume. No worries. It's all good. So hang up the call, went on Amazon, bought myself a hot dog costume because I was the only one available. So I went as to be fair, it was 3 days before Halloween, so there was nothing left. So everyone had already got their costumes sorted. So I was like, screw it, I'm going as a hot dog. Fuck it, I'm just going to do it. So I go to the tour, and I realized quickly that most of them have been out for brunch. So it was an afternoon tour on a Sunday, so most of them have been out for brunch. They were fairly lubricated by the time I got there. And a lot of them were dressing up. I found this out afterwards. Most of the group were part of the LGBTQI plus community, and a lot of them were dressing up in drag, like full-blown drag. Like they had the stilettos, they had like the makeup, the everything. They were looking like this proper, like really cool, like drag queens type of thing. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then quickly realized that this was going to be hilarious photos of this tour because there was all these drag queens chasing a hot dog around the Upper East Side as part of this food tour. So somewhere, and I had people on the streets taking photos of this because they thought it was fucking hilarious, which it is. It's really funny. Like in retrospect, I shouldn't have gone as a hot dog, but that's my mistake for not asking any questions about what I should go as. But the guy who organized it had a great time. He was like really happy. He's like, this has been the best birthday ever. So this has been fun. I hope you had fun. I'm like, it was good, man. It was a good tour. But yeah, somewhere on the internet, if you dig deep enough, you'll probably be able to find a photo of that. I don't know where they are, but yeah, worth a look.
You have to find photos of that.
Love that.
That'd be great for the website.
Oh yeah, maybe. There's Pride Month coming up, so maybe could be an option. Pride Month. What's that next month? I think could be a winner.
You still got your hot dog outfit?
Probably somewhere in the closet there. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know.
Can you get it out?
I haven't.
Get it out now.
I'd have to. I think it's in a suitcase in a vacuum bag. I don't know if it's. Don't know if that one's going to see the light of day.
Right next to the horny goat and the sex cup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's good. I don't go in that closet. Not on camera. Can't do that one.
So, I mean, what's it been now? Like 9 months. Yeah, 9 months. And I want to know, like, what's coming up for you? What are you excited about? Are you still excited about Tasty Tours and where to next with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So
apart from the merch store.
Apart from the obvious merch store. So like I'll kind of answer it backwards. So yes, still loving the job. it's not even really a job, to be honest. This is probably the only job I've ever had that doesn't feel like a chore to go to or a job that I have to go and do. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I really am. It's a rare feeling. I think it is. I think anyone who knows me and has ever had a conversation about me and how I feel about work, it's usually fairly negative. Never really have much great things to say about the work I have been doing. I'll still do it because you got to get paid. But yeah, I think it's nice to finally have a job where I feel passionate and interested in and happy to wake up in the morning and go and do it. So it's refreshing. Yeah. It's really refreshing. I'm just sad that it's taken this long to get to this point, but everything leads to this point. So I think that's worthwhile. But yeah, I think in terms of like the next 9 months after, like the next year, like who knows, man? I think I'm really just take it day by day, to be honest. I think the time really does fly. I think obviously got some goals around what I need to hit in terms of money and, numbers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's just focusing here on New York City, just still delivering a good experience for people and making sure it's, it's the best part of their holiday. So that's really the big focus, just continuing to do that, deliver something consistently good, and I think the money will come eventually. But I think from the month of May, this has been the biggest month we've ever done. So nearly had 160 people on the tours this month alone. So it's gone from doing 3 people a week back in September last year to doing nearly 50 people a week. So it's good growth. But I think ultimately for the next few years, it'd be great if I could start to get it in other cities. If I could start to kind of expand and do like tasty tours, I don't know, Boston or Tennessee or I don't know, like wherever city. Where that's a long way away from now.
Tasty tours, Tennessee has a ring to it.
The triple T's, man, it's got a good ring to it. Tennessee's a big state. I probably have to pick a different. I probably have to actually pick a city. But tasty Tennessee. It's like where in Tennessee? Don't know. Somewhere. You got to figure it out. Yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be great if I could
location.
Send location. But yeah, and I'd love to be able to get it to the point where I could actually do it in other cities. It's a long way away, but fuck, who knows, man? We'll see what happens. The sky's the limit. So I think just keep doing what I'm doing.
Tasty Tours Paris with the honey goat pizza.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a great merch opportunity there for you too.
Absolutely. I get the Eiffel Tower with a croissant on top of it or a down with sausage. I don't know, man. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That could be good.
So when I was doing the skate lessons through Airbnb Experience, they invited me and a bunch of other hosts to this one day kind of seminar thing where they talked about how experiences were doing and give us the opportunity to network with each other and share stories and talk about our strategies and stuff. And which culture do you think gives the least 5-star reviews of any culture on earth?
What was your answer? What did you say?
It was the French.
It was the French? Really?
I had no idea. Yeah, it was the French.
Oh, they've actually got the numbers on it. Interesting.
Yeah, they did the data, and it was like...
Was it by a long margin?
When I went to France,
fairly...
I met some really great people. I don't know. We didn't talk about the margin. I think it was a significant margin.
Really? Yeah, that's interesting.
Do you remember your French guy? Do you remember if your French guy gave you a good review?
He did.
Like, despite the obvious Google hiccups?
And he was the first person to ever write me a review. And I'll never forget that when that came through. So I think it was in French, so I had to translate it. But he said he had a fantastic time and really enjoyed it. So I think the French got me rolling, man. I've got nothing against the French. They can come on as many tours as they want. But yeah,
fantastic.
I think I've met a few French people. I never had an issue. I've never had a bad review from them. Yeah. So, we good.
Complimentary sex cupcakes for every French person that books 100%.
So. Use code SEXCUPCAKE at checkout to get your free cupcake.
Man. Yeah. I know we've had a lot of banter. And, I took a couple of shots at you earlier. But... I think that's the nature of the friendship, that we can have a laugh. And I wanted to say, to close it out, I wanted to say I'm really proud of you, man. Like it sounds like not only you're doing something that you don't consider work, but you're getting a lot of growth out of this, personal growth out of this, a lot of personal satisfaction. You're proving that you can just move somewhere and start a business if you put your mind to it. It's bloody awesome, man. Inspirational.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. I think it's not easy to do it, but yeah, look, anyone can do it, but it's not to persevere. It's not all, as I said before, like it's not all rainbows and bagels. Like it can be a challenge to do, but no, I think proud of the work we're doing and proud of the work that I've been able to do, and really excited for the future. I think it's just good, man. I'm really enjoying it. So no complaints.
Yeah, it's been awesome to have you here again. I've definitely enjoyed this chat, maybe even more than our first chat, to be honest. So maybe it was an omen that we had to just do it again. Yeah.
No, I think so. I think we came in hot, didn't we? I think the other one was a little stiff to start with. Not that everyone will see the light. That's never going to see the light of day. But yeah, I think we started strong, had strong middle and strong ending. It's good. Easy to talk to, bro. You're a very good host. I'm very impressed. You're just with the questioning and the way you structure it and you keep it flowing. I think you've kind of found your groove, man. And I think I'm excited to kind of see what happens with the Lui Diaz podcast. It's great that you're back doing it as well. I think I missed it when it wasn't on, man. I really did. So I'm excited that you're passionate about it again and that you're kind of like feeling the groove, man. I'm glad you're kind of back and hitting your stride. So you can, and I think it shows in the work as well. So I think you're on the right track, dude. Everything's looking up.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I think we both got a good thing going. This was going to be my last episode though before I open up Downward Sausage. So I might not be back.
Good to know. Yeah,
just for everyone out there, know.
It's been
yeah, don't quit my day job. I'd say.
Don't quit your day job. Yeah, I think keep doing the podcast, but do downward sausage on the side. I think
that'll be my side hustle. Yeah, but
that'll be a really side hustle.
The shout
out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to hear those words, and for me, it's a great experience to have anyone that wants to be on here. Honestly, finding guests is the hardest thing about the podcast, but. And closely behind it is editing, but I'd say finding guests is pretty tough. People that just want to are willing to dedicate. 100%. And now for you, it's been like 4 hours of your time to do this in a totally different time zone. But it is rewarding, and I think the more you do something, the better you get at it. And I think the compliments that you gave me about being a host, it's nice that others are noticing it. And I think, dude, it's always so good talking to you, and I love seeing you thrive and hustle and do something you love and you're passionate about. Having this conversation is way more fun than having conversations about the kind of work we used to do.
I think we can just be ourselves. I think I'm always like that about you as well. We can just there's no facade, there's no bullshit. We can just chat, and I love that. So I always enjoy our chats, man. I'm glad we can finally do it on camera. So if you can have me a third time, I'd love to come back.
Oh, for sure. Well, we'll have to do tasty tour updates. I want to definitely be part of the merch store opening. And where can people? What's your website? Do you have an Instagram or a TikTok or a Facebook? What is all the medias?
For sure. So website's probably a good starting point. So it's just tastytoursnyc.com. Yeah, and I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I need to set up that OnlyFans account at some point. I know we talked about that on the last podcast, but...
Oh yeah, we've totally avoided that, didn't we?
Yeah, we nearly did. We nearly got through it. So yeah, just tastytoursnyc.com, and then on Instagram I think it's just tasty_tours_NYC. But you'll find me. It's pretty easy. We're the only one. Just look for the Statue of Liberty with a pizza. That's what I would say.
Yeah, such an iconic. Soon to be iconic logo for sure.
Can't miss it. Absolutely.
Definitely very recognizable.
Love that.
Yeah, brilliant job on the logo. Brilliant job on getting Tasty Tours off the ground and going from one French guy and a mother and daughter who had to leave halfway through due to a migraine to 160 people. Was it this month? Or?
Yeah, 160 this month. Yeah, it's been a good month.
That's incredible, man. Well done. Congratulations. Thanks for being part of the podcast. And I can't wait to do this again with you, Ryan.
Sounds good, bro. It's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love the podcast. A big fan. So, yeah, I think it's good to see you back out here just doing what you're doing, bro. Love your work.
Thanks, man.
See you, bro.